It is with pride and honor that I bring you today's 1 p.m. segment. Attempts at weather modification in the UAE has resulted in mass flooding, effectively shutting down the country. Wow, I never thought I would say that. Government attempts at weather control are causing environmental crises. You know what's really funny is I see people posting about chemtrails when planes are spraying something out the back and they're like, that proves it. Okay, those are contrails, it's condensation. And we'll break this down, but I hate to break it to the corporate press. The reason why people believe in chemtrails is because while they may not be happening right now to our knowledge, they have, to a certain extent, happened before. With Operation Sea Spray in the 1950s. It's not the only time the U.S. government and other governments have sprayed chemicals over their population, or in this instance, bacteria, to see what would happen. So you have many people believing this never stopped. And it's possible. I just think people are looking at planes and seeing condensation and going, that proves it. Well, now we have this crazy story. You may have seen the viral clips out of Dubai. Massive flooding ripping through the nation. People are posting videos on X being like, what is happening? Look at all this flooding. This is crazy. And of course, it's entirely possible that sometimes floods happen. And especially in areas with poor, what's the right word? Venting, or it's a flat surface prone to flooding. What we're hearing now is that like a year and a half of rain fell on this country, in this city, in the span of a day or two. The question is, how did it happen? According to Bloomberg, cloud seeding is what triggered this. I'll give you the real simple version. It's not that crazy. The UAE intentionally seeds clouds with a chemical mixture, meaning a plane flies overhead and sprays chemicals into the air in an attempt to increase the mass of the water molecules, of particles in the cloud, so that they fall down as rain. I think it's a combination of salts and other things. And what happens is when they see a cloud, they say, okay, look, normally this cloud just floats on by, but there's a lot of water in there. If we can get that water to fall down, we can drink it. So what they do is they send a plane up. The plane sprays a salt mixture into the cloud. The water particles absorb the salt, becoming heavier, and then fall. So they get a slightly saltier rain, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure what the chemical makeup is. I do have articles on this. Well, this time they bit off more than they can chew, and it caused massive flooding. So I'm just really excited to have this story. Government weather modification causes mass flooding. Because every time there's a disaster and someone says, could this have been a program by the government to modify weather gone wrong? They go, you conspiracy theorists. The first thing I want to do is explain the difference between cloud seeding, contrails, and chemtrails. I think the chemtrails things is stupid. Basically, what happens is people say, they look up at the sky and they see this trail of white. And they say that's a chemtrail because a condensation trail breaks up. The argument being, first, a condensation trail is formed when a jet flying through seemingly clear skies, the jet intake pulls in a bunch of air, compresses it. That's how jets work, forcing the plane forward. The compression condenses the water vapor in the air, creating a dense enough water vapor mass that it can actually block sunlight and reflect sunlight. When it is particularly, depending on the humidity levels at the altitude, depending on whether it's high or low, you can get different kinds of condensation trails. If the air is hyper condensed when the jet passes through, the trail may come out of the plane, but only last for a little bit as the vapor then dissipates once again. You've seen these when, like, the trail behind the plane is breaking up behind it. But there are some instances where at lower altitudes, the condensation remains. It's not being broken up, and this is due to temperature or things like that. For some reason, people think the difference means the government was spraying chemicals on them. Bro, if the government is going to spray chemicals on you, you're not going to be able to see it in the sky and know they're doing it. It's going to be done in ways you will not expect. And I will stress this. They're not going to spray chemicals on you. They're going to pump it into the water supply, and you'll never know, right? So if someone came to me and said, the government's putting chemicals in the water, man, to screw with us, I'd be like, well, there's fluoride, there's chlorine. We found trace bits of birth control in reclaimed water. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know, is it on purpose? Perhaps. Microplastics, metals, toxins. Yeah, these things are in your water. That's not even up for dispute. So when someone says the government puts fluoride in our water to make us stupid, it's like, well, the conspiracy is the intent, not the action, because we know they put fluoride in the water. The argument is it's for your teeth. But I don't know why you have to drink the fluoride in order to get the benefits to your teeth. You can rinse your mouth out and spit it out. Although there have been studies, they say, that since adding fluoride to water, tooth decay has dropped dramatically. I'm not sure that still justifies why you have to drink fluoride, which it is a fact. Consuming fluoride is bad for you and cause neurological damage. But let's read the story and talk about this amazing conspiracy theory. Dubai grinds to standstill as cloud seeding worsens floods. Torrential rains across the United Arab Emirates prompted flight cancellations, forced schools to shut, and brought traffic to a standstill. The heavy rains that caused widespread flooding across the desert nation came after cloud seeding. The UAE has been carrying out seeding operations since 2002 to address water security issues, even though the lack of drainage in many areas can trigger flooding. The Gulf States National Center of Meteorology dispatched seeding planes from Al Ain Airport on Monday and Tuesday to take advantage of convective cloud formations, according to Ahmed Habib, a specialist meteorologist. The NCM on Wednesday said the seeding had taken place on Sunday and Monday and not on Tuesday. Cloud seeding involves implanting chemicals and tiny particles, often natural salts, such as potassium chloride, into the atmosphere to coax more rain from the clouds. You know what I'll do? We have a video breaking all of this down. We'll play for you in a second. With global warming threatening a surge in heat-related deaths in UAE, Dubai's media office on Tuesday dubbed the downpours rains of goodness, despite flooding houses and overflowing swimming pools. The latest storms followed heavy rains earlier this year, according to Habib at NCM. The seeding planes have flown 7 missions, he added. For any cloud that's suitable over the UAE, you make it the operation, he said. This is not up for dispute, okay? This is a fact. This flooding was caused by attempts at weather modification. CNBC International, the UAE government has invested more than $20 million in research to start a process called cloud seeding, artificially creating rainfall. Well, let's play it, and you can learn all about it.
The UAE government invested more than $20 million in research to start a process called cloud seeding. The UAE performs around 1,000 hours of cloud seeding a year, and it's all controlled by this building in the National Center of Meteorology in Abu Dhabi, where they track the whole process. We met with a cloud seeding expert to explain how the seeding process works.
We wait the forecast when we have a good, chance for a cloud. We send the aircraft to that location. It go under the cloud. In the first stage of the cloud, there is good updraft at that time, start to release all the salt, and with the good updraft, of course, it will go inside the cloud. The droplets will become bigger and start to rain.
The center manufactures a salt substance that helps enhance rainfall. They put them in what they call flares. This is a sample plane here at the National Center of Meteorology, but the real planes fly out from the runways in Al Ain.
Operation 219.
We also spoke to one of the weather forecasters. He explains how the operations work.
We align our pilots to be on the airports and tell them when to be at the airport. So as expected, we wait for the clouds to appear on the radar, and there we have our pilots talking to us. Let me know if there is any updrafts in your area.
Is it going to rain in Dubai today? Just so I know. I have to drive back from Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
No.
It's not raining. It's a sunny day.
Okay. So here's a video from CNBC talking about how they do cloud seeding. Well, I got the article for you, The Rain Men. Everything you need to know about UAE's cloud seeding missions. Let's pause for a moment so that I can stress. Government weather modification around the world is not a conspiracy theory. The media will lie and try and turn anything into one. Let me tell you. There's HAARP. Let me pull up the HAARP wiki. I love this one. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. There are certainly people who believe that HAARP, HAARP, in Alaska is a weather weapon. I don't know, don't really care. I don't know what you're going to do about it, right? I have no reason to believe it's a weapon. It seems to, they say the most prominent instrument at HAARP is the Ionospheric Research Instrument, a high-power radio frequency transmitter facility operating in the high-frequency band. The IRI is used to temporarily excite a limited area of the ionosphere. Other instruments such as VHF and UHF radar, a flux gate, magnetometer, how do you pronounce it? Digisonde, an ionospheric sounding device, and an induction magnetometer are used to study the physical processes that occur in the excited region. Some people think it's a weapon. Sure. Here's what happens. You'll get some kind of disaster. Let's say in the United States there was flooding. And someone goes, I think weather control operations backfired. What the media then does is they'll wait for one person to go, I think it's HAARP. Then they'll take that one tweet and they'll go, did weather modification cause the disaster? Some say HAARP is causing weather disasters. False. HAARP doesn't do this. HAARP is blah, blah. The game is this. Seed the false narrative and then debunk the false narrative. We see it all the time. When it came to the eclipse, there were general questions. People were like, oh, wow, did you know that they're going to be firing up CERN at the same time as the eclipse? Okay, well, that's true. But CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, had been fired up a week or two before the eclipse. But what started this was someone saying they'll be firing up CERN at the same time as the eclipse. Fact, true. So when people start saying this, and they're like, wow, that's crazy, what does the media do? They say, is CERN going to fire up at the same time as the eclipse? False. CERN was already fired up. No, hold on. The initial point being made by your average reasonable person asking questions was not whether they had just flicked the switch on that day. That doesn't mean anything. It's that, are they going to be operating on the same day? And they were. I don't know that actually means anything, but some people were laughing like, oh, wow, that's crazy. The media adds a point no one made. Is CERN going to fire up for the first time on the same day? No, of course not. Yeah, but nobody argued that. I've talked about this with fact checkers quite a bit. Like, this is what Snopes likes to do and these other fact checkers. It'll be, the example I give is Donald Trump will do a backflip off of the White House balcony and land perfectly in a superhero pose on the ground and then stand up. Everyone will have witnessed it. People will be tweeting photos far and wide. Donald Trump does backflip. And then Snopes will write, did Donald Trump really do a backflip off the balcony of the White House, landing in a perfect superhero pose on the ground for all to see on recorded videos every which way and massively viral, ... on Sunday? False. They'll then give you a massive wall of text where it'll say, many videos have begun to circulate showing that Donald Trump was pulling off a backflip and landing on the ground. While some people believe backflips are this and gainers are this, a front flip is actually this. And then after 300, 400 words at the bottom, it'll say, while Trump did do the backflip on Saturday, he did not do it on Sunday. You see the point? By adding a tiny bit that has nothing to do with the story, they can see the headline. They know that you will not even click and then believe the wrong thing. The headline will say, false claims of Trump doing a backflip circulate all across the internet. And they'll go, oh, I knew it. I knew it was a false backflip. And then when you click the article and go all the way to the bottom, it'll say, Trump did do the backflip, just not on Sunday. And the false claim we were talking about was that it was on Sunday. That's the game they play. When it comes to HAARP, this is why I love it so much. You mention that they're doing government weather modification and they'll call you a conspiracy theorist, but it's a boring fact. They've been doing it for generations. They would use silver iodide, I believe. There was one breakthrough 20 some odd years ago where they could use infrared lasers to affect and excite the water particles, triggering attraction or something that would result in rainfall. Now it looks like they're using potassium chloride, which will increase the weight of the water particles as they absorb it, and then they'll start to rain. And then when you say government weather modification sparked the flooding, they will then fact check the saying false claims of government weather modification triggering flooding circulates on the internet. And while it's true that what happened, they will then write an article about all the claims, say it's false, and at the end, they'll write, did HAARP trigger the rain? False. It was government cloud seeding. That way they can trick people into believing lies. The Rain Men. Everything you need to know about UAE's cloud seeding missions. This is just, I love it. Here's the plane. So they've got 5% magnesium, controls the flames. 12% solidarity materials, keeping it together, 13% sodium chloride, and 70% potassium chloride to attract water droplets. And there you go. They spray it into the air. Updraft will carry the particles into the clouds. It will then pull the water together, which becomes heavy, and then fall from the sky. Welcome to the modern era, my friends. Tennessee lawmakers vote to ban geoengineering with allusions to chemtrails conspiracy theory. And this is what I'm talking about. The bill prohibits technologies that could modify the atmosphere, but lawmakers' comments about it towed a line between fact and fiction. Contrails from a jetliner flying high over Las Vegas in 2019. And the argument for many people is that these are chemicals being sprayed in the air. Why would they do that? Look, there are reasons to spray varying chemicals. They've done it, like I mentioned, bacteria with, where's Operation Sea Spray? Do we have that? Here we go. Operation Sea Spray is when in the 50s they sprayed from the air, from planes. This is what it was, right? Am I getting it wrong? The Navy released 2 types of bacteria from a ship off the shore of San Francisco. Oh, is that what they did? Okay, then I stand corrected. I was wrong. I thought it was from planes. But they did, really? From ships into the air? I thought it was from planes, but okay, I stand corrected. And I even read this, and I must have just skimmed to it too quickly. They blanketed the Bay Area with bacteria, causing urinary tract infections and things like that from ships. So anyway, I will rephrase. It is known that they use weather modification, that they spray chemicals from planes because of things like sea spray. And I still think this applies. When the government sprays an area with a bacteria, it's easy for people to believe that this stuff is happening or that it's continued. April 1st, check this out. The Tennessee State House of Representatives passed a bill Monday designed to prevent geoengineering, the practice of intentionally modifying the atmosphere to counteract global warming. NBC News is so... Geoengineering is not about stopping global warming. Geoengineering just means geoengineering. Sometimes it can be used to stop global warming. The bill, which has already passed in the state Senate, covers a variety of technological interventions. They include theoretical ideas about cooling the climate by an approach known as solar radiation modification, as well as more limited practices that affect the weather, like cloud seeding, a technique used to increase rain and snowfall. Most geoengineering options are theoretical and untested. Federal researchers have taken only a few small steps towards studying their feasibility. On its face, Tennessee's bills represents an attempt to prevent experimentation with or deployment of such technologies. However, lawmakers' discussion of the proposal towed a line between fact and fiction, with several suggesting that solar geoengineering projects are already underway and others referring to fears and misunderstandings that appeared to stem from the chemtrails conspiracy theory. Quote, "This will be my wife's favorite bill of the year. She has worried about this, I bet, 10 years. It's been going on a long time." This is Republican Senator Frank Nicely said at a hearing about the bill. "If you look up one day, it'll be clear. The next day, it will look like some angels have been playing tic-tac-toe. They're everywhere. I've got pictures on my phone with X's right over my house. For years, they denied they were doing anything." It's just... Yeah, these quotes are silly. Sometimes there is more humidity in the air, not enough to form visible vapor clouds, but when condensed, they can remain. None of the 6 Senate sponsors responded to requests for comment. Nicely, who voted for the bill, also did not respond to a request for comment. The chemtrails theory is a loose grouping of unfounded ideas that suggest planes are not making trails of condensation, but instead spraying government-made chemicals to control people's behaviors and affect their bodies. Well, there was the gay bomb. You guys remember that? Let me pull up gay bomb. Oh, what a fun day. I'm not making this up. This is a thing. The gay bomb was a non-lethal psychochemical weapon concept that was speculated upon research by a laboratory in the U.S. Air Force. The idea was to disperse sex pheromones over enemy forces to make them all gay. It's for real, causing mass confusion and panic within their platoons. It wouldn't work. It's ridiculous, but they've talked about doing something like that. They're going to mention that chemtrails have evolved. Justin Mankin, a climate scientist at Dartmouth College, said it's conspiratorial nonsense. The challenge here is that the whole chemtrails conspiracy has blurred and subsumed all these distinct technologies with distinct aims, which makes it challenging to disentangle. I'll tell you why I don't like the conspiracy theories. There is strong probability that the government does these things, that they spray chemicals sometimes for some reason. The problem is people look at condensation and it's probably a distraction. Let me tell you. If I was going to spray an entire Bay Area from ships with bacteria to study its effects, I would need a way to prevent people from believing it. So what you do is you see contrails, condensation in the sky, and then you seed conspiracies. People then start spreading the insane idea. Actually, I'll give you a really great example. It has to do with a restaurant that was accused of trafficking children. One day on 4chan, someone made up that pizza means boy and pasta means girl. Completely fabricated. No basis in any of the journalistic investigations as to what was going on. It's a brilliant move, in my opinion. Likely what had happened is that when the DNC emails got leaked, there was evidence of what I would assume outright to be drug deals. There was one email that said, is it more fun to play dominoes on pizza or pasta? What does that mean? What is it? There's a code word for something. Well, someone on 4chan just fabricated that pizza means boy and pasta means girl. That way they could spread a conspiracy theory that this email was about trafficking. The email is probably about something darker, worse, who knows? We don't actually know. Certainly was code for something. I assume it was code for drugs. That's the first thing I do. Playing dominoes could be a reference to something, and pizza and pasta could be internal references among a group of people about the drugs they do. If you told me a bunch of politicians are having parties and doing drugs, everyone would believe you. I'd believe you. You get into the weird stuff about trafficking kids, and although we do know that Epstein and all that was true, this seeding of what these words meant confused people and actually shattered the investigation. By putting fake information into the story, it redirects everyone in the wrong direction. I think the same thing with chemtrails. When someone says, hey, the government's spraying people with chemicals, they go, from planes in the sky, look, there it is. Then everyone looks, and now they're looking in the wrong direction. I think that's the point of these conspiracy theories, to distract and deflect from what they're really doing. Because as we know from Operation Sea Spray, and I stand corrected, I thought it was from planes. It was actually from ships. You see, even I fell for it. I assumed it was from planes, and I even read the thing, and I must have I missed it. Good thing I read over it again while I was recording. My friends, geoengineering can be our destruction. I don't know what to tell you. The rain shut down the airport. It flooded buildings. Who's going to be responsible for this? Will the government be sued? And what happens when flooding comes to your hometown and you find out they were cloud seeding too? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.